Hi there. So let me start off with a couple of questions. In your opinion, what do you think? Do you think a computer can learn to think quite efficiently like a human? Or yet, do you think a computer can learn to decide quite well like a human? Well, the answer is why not? It's quite simple. If an industrial machine can learn to work 1,000 times as efficiently as a human, then why can't a system like a computer learn to think on its own, learn to decide on its own like a human? Well, but we have bigger questions. How well can a computer learn to think like a human? Can a computer provide near about 100% accuracy like a human? Or better yet, can a computer learn to identify mistakes like a human? Well, the answer is quite not as simple as the first two questions. Alright, so let's look into this. A computer can learn to perform nearly as efficient as a human. Okay, this depends on the learning technique that you provide to the computer. Okay, and unfortunately, yes, a computer cannot learn to identify reason. A computer cannot learn from its mistakes. A computer is incapable of learning from its mistakes. Well, why are we talking about computer learning? Computer learning. Well, there is a huge amount of study that's going into trying to make a computer learn to think like a human. This broad area of having a computer learn to think like a human is actually called machine learning. This is a subject people, researchers such as myself, are trying to find an optimum solution to try and make a computer learn to think exactly like a human. Well, as I told you before, a computer cannot learn to identify its own mistakes. A computer is not going to be able to learn from its mistakes. Okay, so let me show this through an example. Okay, so what I've done is I've written a program that has made me teach my computer how to identify, how to recognize digits from images. So basically what I did was I took around 60,000 training images. Each of these images had a handwritten digit, a digit as in the English digit 0 to 9, and I asked the computer to identify the patterns in these digits, and I asked the computer to learn from these digits. I asked the computer that if I've given you these 60,000 images, you're going to look into the patterns, you're going to look at what digit is present in each of these images, and you're going to predict that. If I give you a new number, if I give you a new image, you're going to have to predict what number is there in that image, what digit is present in that image. So if what I did was I gave 60,000 images. Each of these images had a number, like supposing 5, 2, 3, any sort of number, and the computer was asked to learn to predict that this is a 5, this is a 3, this is a 2, and so on. And then what I did was I took 10,000 other such images and I had the computer look into those images. I asked the computer, if I give you a random image, if I pick out a random image from this 10,000 test examples, can you predict what digit this holds? Well, the computer said, I've started learning, and I learned successfully, but I'm not able to successfully predict 100% of the images. But yes, I can predict 83.8% of the images. So 16.2% of the images I can't learn. So yes, a computer is not quite as efficient as a human. But yes, in providing other techniques, this number can become plus or minus a few numbers. You can go to 84, it can go to 87, and so on. Because if you can consider a computer, it's kind of like a human. So as how humans try different techniques, either learning by heart or learning and then understanding and reproducing and so on. These are the kind of techniques that humans learn. So this is how a computer learns. A computer learns through some algorithms, some machine learning techniques. Alright, so this is after using one of those machine learning techniques, computers told me I can predict 83.8% of the digits correctly. So now the computer is saying, let me just expand this. Yes, so the computer is saying I can give you an 83.8% of accuracy. So now which test image would you like to predict? Please select a number in between 0 to 9999. So let me just give you an example, 3412. Okay, so it's showing a 0, right? So this is how we can identify immediately that it's showing a 0. But let's see what the computer identifies. Yes, the computer's identified it as a 0. So now the computer is asking us, do you want to verify another number? So I'm just giving it as a yes. Okay, so computer is asking, please provide another number. So let me now give you another number, 3421. Okay, this is another number that I'll give. So now the computer is saying it looks like a 6. So it's going to see what it's going to predict. Let's see what it's going to predict. Okay, so we have identified this as a 6. So let's see what the computer says. And the computer is also saying that it's a 6. Alright, so computer is doing very well till now. It's identified two numbers correctly. So now let's just click yes again. We want to see another image, so we are going to give you another image. So now let's put 2 3 4 5. So what do you think this number is? Of course we can think it's a 5, because we have learned that this number is a 5, right? So now let's see what the computer predicts for us. Oh no, why is the computer predicting that it's a 9? Well, our computer did tell us that it can only identify 83.8% of the numbers correctly. But now, can the computer learn to correct itself? I have given 60,000 examples of 5. So now if I give the same thing again, the same image again, if I pick it out randomly from the 10,000, will the computer be able to predict that this is not a 9 and this is a 5? Well, let's look at it. Wait, do you still want to give another image? So yes. So now let's just give it 2 3 4 5 again. Alright, so let's just see if you can see here, the computer is still predicting it as wrong. So what does this prove? A computer cannot learn to adapt. A computer cannot learn to understand reason, cannot learn to learn from its mistakes. But not to worry, this is what us young scientists are trying to take the initiative to try and understand. We are trying to learn. We're trying to make a computer learn to think like a human. And yes, this is just a simple handwriting system that I have created. But yes, if this is successful, we can also incorporate this technology into identifying images of medical MRIs and all different types of radiological images that can learn to identify diseases, can learn to detect diseases early so that chronic diseases can be avoided. So yes, this technology is so far advanced. If we learn to have a computer adapt from its mistakes, then yes, we are going to create a new world. Cheers.